Here's a truth most men never hear. Women don't sleep with men for the reasons you think. It's not always about looks, status, or even money. The real reasons are hidden, and once you understand them, everything about your relationships will change. Think about it. Maybe you've been with a woman who seemed attracted one moment, then cold the next. Or you've wondered why she chose a man who didn't seem better looking or more successful than you. Most men chalk it up to, women are confusing, but that's just an excuse. The reality is that women are driven by 4 powerful motives that go far beyond what's on the surface. Here's the kicker. These motives aren't random. They're rooted in psychology, biology, and the emotional wiring that guides her choices. And once you learn to recognize them, you stop guessing and start leading. You'll know why she responds the way she does, why attraction spikes or fades, and how to build something deeper than just chemistry. This isn't about tricks, it's about clarity. Understanding these hidden reasons will keep you from wasting years chasing the wrong signals, and instead, help you build connections that actually last. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what pulls women into intimacy and how to align yourself with it. Let's get into it. Number 1. Physical desire isn't the whole story. Most men grow up believing one simple story. Women sleep with men because they're physically attracted to them. She likes his looks, his build, maybe his style, that's it. But here's the reality. Physical desire is only one piece of the puzzle, and it's not even the biggest one. If you think it's the whole story, you'll miss the deeper forces that truly drive intimacy. Let's make this real. David, 54, from Chicago, was recently divorced and started dating again. He met Laura, 51, a woman who seemed warm and interested. At first, David assumed the key was hitting the gym harder, looking sharper, and presenting himself as youthful. But Laura's attraction didn't build just because of his looks. What really shifted the dynamic was when he showed her calmness, humor, and the ability to listen without judgment. She later admitted, "It wasn't your appearance that drew me in, it was the way I felt at ease with you." For David, this was a revelation. See, research shows that physical attraction gets women curious, but it rarely seals the deal on its own. Her body may notice you first, but her mind and emotions decide what happens next. Curiosity, novelty, and timing all shape how desire unfolds. And unlike men whose physical drive tends to stay high and consistent, women's drive can shift with cycles, stress, or even the emotional tone of the relationship. This is where most men fail. They double down on appearance, gifts, or superficial charm, while ignoring the subtler signals that actually create intimacy. A woman might find you good-looking but still feel no urge to sleep with you if she doesn't trust you emotionally or feel safe in your presence. On the flip side, a man who isn't her type can still capture her desire if he knows how to engage her on multiple levels. The Stoics had something powerful to say about this. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Applied here, it means what you project internally shapes how she experiences you externally. If you're anxious, needy, or desperate, she feels it, even if you look the part. If you're grounded, calm, and confident, that energy amplifies whatever physical attraction may already exist. Think back to David. He realized that while staying fit mattered, it wasn't enough. What set him apart wasn't his gray hair or the lines on his face, it was the way he carried himself. Laura saw a man who wasn't chasing approval, and that made her attraction grow. Here's the truth. Physical desire is real, but it's fragile. It can fade quickly if it isn't supported by emotional safety, connection, or the excitement of novelty. When you understand this, you stop obsessing over what you look like and start focusing on what you radiate. Your presence, your calmness, your ability to lead, these are just as seductive as any six-pack. So the next time you think attraction is only about looks, remember, that's just the spark. The flame needs fuel, and the fuel comes from more than your body. If you've ever noticed that attraction went deeper than looks, Drop it in the comments. I know the truth. And here's the key: once you understand that physical desire is only the beginning, you'll start to see the hidden forces that really keep intimacy alive. And those hidden forces are exactly what we'll uncover next. Number 2. Emotional safety unlocks intimacy. Here's something most men overlook. For a woman, real intimacy doesn't start in the bedroom, it starts in her mind and emotions. If she doesn't feel emotionally safe with you, everything else shuts down. You can be handsome, wealthy, or charming, but if she feels tension, judgment, or pressure, her desire fades quickly. Emotional safety means she can be herself without fear of criticism or rejection. It means she knows that when she shares her thoughts, her vulnerabilities, or even her insecurities, you won't use them against her. It's the foundation that allows desire to grow naturally instead of being forced. Think about this. Many men approach intimacy like a transaction. They assume that if they do something nice, show enough interest, or create the right setting, she should respond physically. But women don't operate on that logic. For them, the emotional tone sets the stage. If she feels safe, respected, and valued, her body follows. If she doesn't, she shuts down. The Stoics captured this idea beautifully. Seneca wrote, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality." For women, that's especially true in relationships. Her imagination, her sense of whether she'll be safe, cared for, or exposed, can either unlock her desire or kill it instantly. When you provide calmness, consistency, and emotional stability, you quiet that fear. This is why arguments, insecurity, or constant pressure backfire so badly. A woman may still love you, but if she doesn't feel safe, she'll withdraw. On the other hand, when she feels that she can trust you, when she knows you won't explode in anger or drown her in neediness, intimacy flows almost effortlessly. It's important to understand that emotional safety doesn't mean weakness. It doesn't mean being overly soft or submissive. In fact, it's the opposite. Emotional safety comes from strength, the strength to control your reactions, to remain calm when things get tense, and to lead with steadiness. A man who loses his temper or who constantly doubts himself makes a woman feel unstable. But a man who can remain centered gives her the security she craves. This is why women often say they want a man who makes them feel safe. They're not only talking about physical protection, they're talking about emotional steadiness. They want to know that when life gets messy, you won't fall apart. They want to know that your frame isn't fragile. And when they sense that strength, intimacy becomes natural. So here's the takeaway. If you want a woman to truly open up to you, focus less on what you can get and more on the environment you create. Speak less, listen more. Don't rush her emotions. Don't push her pace. Let her see that her feelings are safe in your presence. That's when she begins to connect deeply. The surprising part? Once emotional safety is established, her physical desire often rises. When the mind is at ease, the body follows. It's not manipulation, it's psychology. So ask yourself, are you creating a space where she feels safe, or are you letting your impatience sabotage intimacy? If you've ever realized the power of emotional safety, write this in the comments. I protect her peace. And here's the truth. Once you understand that intimacy begins with emotional safety, you'll start to see how connection itself can become the glue in a relationship. Because when safety is present, connection doesn't just happen, it deepens. And that's exactly what we're going to uncover next. Number 3, connection strengthens through touch. When it comes to relationships, a lot of men underestimate just how powerful touch really is. They think it's only about sex, but for women, physical contact goes far beyond the bedroom. Touch communicates safety, closeness, reassurance, and love in a way that words often can't. If you understand this, you stop seeing intimacy as just an act and start seeing it as a language. Take Mark, 56, from Texas. After years of marriage, he and his wife, Ellen, 54, had drifted into a routine. They still loved each other, but something felt distant. Mark assumed it was just the natural slowdown that comes with age. But one day, Ellen told him, "You hardly hold my hand anymore. You don't hug me the way you used to." For Mark, it was a wake-up call. It wasn't about sex, it was about connection. The little touches that once came naturally had faded, and with them, so had the spark. This is common. Women often see touch as a signal of closeness, a hand on her back, an arm around her shoulder, even brushing her hand across the table. These gestures tell her she's valued and desired. And here's the thing. When those touches are consistent, they reinforce emotional safety and keep intimacy alive. When they disappear, she starts to feel taken for granted. Research backs this up. Studies on long-term couples show that those who maintain frequent, non-sexual touch report higher satisfaction and deeper connection. It's not about intensity, it's about consistency. For women, those small gestures mean more than you might imagine. Mark learned this lesson. He began making small changes, hugging Ellen when he came home, holding her hand in public again, even touching her arm when he wanted to emphasize something in conversation. It wasn't forced. It was simply reintroducing what had been lost. And slowly, Ellen opened up more, smiled more, and even initiated intimacy more often. For her, touch was the bridge back to connection. This is why you can't ignore physical presence. A woman may forgive your words or your mistakes, but she'll feel the absence of touch deeply. Without it, she begins to wonder if she's still loved, still attractive, still desired. With it, she feels secure and close even in silence. It's also important to understand that touch builds momentum. For women, intimacy often starts outside the bedroom. When she feels that closeness in daily life, she's more open to deeper intimacy later. But if touch is missing all day, expecting her to suddenly be passionate at night feels unrealistic. Here's what's powerful. Touch doesn't have to be grand or dramatic. It just has to be genuine. A gentle kiss on the forehead, a squeeze of her hand, or resting your hand on her knee when you're sitting together. These little actions carry more weight than men realize. So ask yourself, are you using touch as a way to build connection, or have you let it slip into the background? If you understand that touch is more than physical, write this in the comments. I build connection. And remember this, once you master the power of touch, you'll begin to see how connection itself transforms. But connection isn't the only hidden motive. There's another force that quietly influences a woman's decisions, one most men never see coming. And that's exactly where we're heading next. Number 4. Social pressure shapes her choices. Here's something many men forget. Not every time a woman sleeps with someone comes from genuine desire. Sometimes it's about the weight of social pressure. Society has rules spoken and unspoken that shape her decisions. Family expectations, cultural norms, friends' opinions, and even the silent judgment of others can influence her more than you realize. Think about it. A woman might feel the need to appear normal within her group of friends. If her circle is more adventurous, she might go along just to fit in, even when she's not fully comfortable. Or if she's been told by family or culture that intimacy equals proof of commitment, she may cross lines earlier than she naturally would. It's not always about her attraction to the man, it's about the invisible weight pressing on her from the outside. The Stoics understood this problem well. Epictetus once said, "If you wish to be free, do not wish for things that are not in your control." For women, social expectation often lies outside their control. They're raised in systems that tell them what's acceptable, what's shameful, and what makes them valuable. Sometimes they internalize those voices so deeply they forget to ask what they truly want. This is why you'll see situations where a woman chooses intimacy not because of desire, but to avoid conflict. She might fear being judged as cold or unloving. She may feel she has to keep pace with other women, or live up to a partner's demands, just so she doesn't appear difficult. That isn't passion, it's pressure. And here's where most men misread the signals. They think, she said yes, so she must want it. But desire driven by pressure isn't the same as genuine intimacy. It often leaves her feeling detached or resentful afterward, which eventually harms the relationship. What looked like closeness can actually create distance. Understanding this is crucial. If you're a man who values long-term connection, you need to pay attention to whether her choices come from authentic desire or social influence. Is she doing this because she truly wants to, or because she feels she has to? The difference determines whether the connection deepens or erodes. The lesson here isn't to criticize women for being influenced. Men are influenced too by peers, by culture, by unspoken rules. The difference is, men often underestimate how strongly those forces shape women's intimate choices. When you recognize that, you stop misreading compliance as attraction. You start looking deeper. So what's the role of the Stoic man in all this? It's simple. Be the steady frame that doesn't pressure her. When you show her she doesn't need to perform or meet anyone else's expectations, you give her space to act from genuine desire. That's when intimacy becomes real, not forced. This awareness will save you from countless frustrations. You'll stop wondering why she pulled away after a night that should have brought you closer. You'll see that without true choice, there can be no true intimacy. So ask yourself, are you creating an environment where she chooses you freely, or is she responding out of pressure? If you've ever realized that social influence is powerful, write this in the comments. I see the pressure, and here's what matters. Once you understand how pressure can shape her choices, you'll begin to see that genuine connection requires more than just removing outside influence. It requires tapping into something deeper, something that fuels desire on its own. And that's exactly where we're headed next. Number 5. Curiosity and novelty fuel attraction. Here's a truth about attraction most men underestimate. Women are deeply wired to respond to curiosity and novelty. It's not that they're fickle, it's that the human brain, especially the female brain, lights up when something feels new, unpredictable, or slightly mysterious. That rush of dopamine creates excitement, and excitement often translates into attraction. Let's make this real with an example. John, 58, from Colorado, had been casually dating after his divorce. He met Michelle, 53, a teacher who had been single for a few years. At first, things felt casual. Dinner, conversation, the usual. But John noticed something. When he broke routine, like suggesting a spontaneous weekend drive into the mountains or cooking her a dish she'd never tried, Michelle's energy shifted. She leaned in more, laughed more, and her attraction toward him grew stronger. For her, it wasn't just about John himself. It was about the novelty he introduced into her life. This is powerful psychology. Women often associate new experiences with new emotions. And when you're the man who creates those experiences, she connects those emotions to you. That doesn't mean you need to constantly reinvent yourself. It means avoiding predictability. If every interaction is the same, she subconsciously starts to check out. But if you're capable of surprising her not with grand gestures, but with small doses of freshness, her desire stays alive. Think of it like music. Even the best song gets boring if it's on repeat every day. But add a remix, a change of rhythm, and suddenly it feels exciting again. Relationships work the same way. Women don't crave chaos, but they do crave a sense of movement, curiosity, and the unexpected. Now here's the catch. Novelty has to come from authenticity. If you're faking interest in things just to impress her, she'll pick up on it. But if you're genuinely curious about life, trying new restaurants, exploring new ideas, embracing new experiences, she feels that energy and wants to share it with you. For John and Michelle, it wasn't expensive trips or flashy gifts that created attraction. It was a man showing he wasn't stuck in routine, that he could bring something fresh into her world. That kept her guessing, kept her engaged, and made intimacy feel alive. The mistake many men make is falling into predictability too quickly. They think stability means doing the same thing over and over, never changing the script. But stability doesn't mean boredom. You can be solid in your values while still being playful and creative in how you live. That balance, strength plus novelty, is what women find magnetic. So here's the takeaway. If you want to fuel attraction, don't just rely on what you already know. Explore, expand, and invite her into that journey. Let her feel that being with you is not just safe, but also exciting. If you've ever seen curiosity spark desire, write this in the comments. I keep it fresh. And here's what's worth remembering. Novelty keeps her engaged, but stability anchors her long-term desire. Put those together, and you become unforgettable. Which leads us into the next truth about why women respond the way they do, and it's one most men miss entirely. Number 6. Stability makes her body respond. One of the most overlooked truths about female attraction is this: stability is sexy. Not the flashy kind of sexy that gets attention for a moment, but the deep, grounding presence that makes a woman's body relax and respond to you almost unconsciously. When a man is stable emotionally, mentally, and even financially, he radiates something women can't ignore: safety. And safety is the foundation for intimacy. Without it, she stays guarded. With it, her body naturally opens up, her desire rises, and connection flows. Think about it. A woman who feels like she's walking on eggshells, worried about your moods, your finances, or your ability to handle life, will never fully let go with you. She may spend time with you, but she won't surrender to the deeper levels of intimacy. Her nervous system is too busy scanning for threats. But when you're steady, calm under pressure, consistent in your actions, reliable in your presence, her body feels free. That's when intimacy becomes effortless. The Stoics understood this principle well. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." For women, your ability to control your inner world is the signal that tells her whether she can trust you with hers. If you're ruled by anger, jealousy, or fear, she feels unstable in your presence. But if you're grounded, steady, and calm, she instinctively leans in. This doesn't mean you have to be perfect. Stability doesn't mean having millions in the bank or never showing emotion. What it means is this: you don't collapse under pressure. You don't make her feel like she has to carry the weight of your life for you. She sees that you can handle your world, and that allows her to relax into hers. Here's something powerful. When a woman's body feels safe, desire naturally increases. This isn't manipulation, it's biology. Her nervous system, her hormones, even her subconscious, all of them respond to signals of stability. That's why women often describe the most attractive men, not just as handsome, but as solid. She may not use the word stability, but that's exactly what she means. Now compare that with instability. A man who blows up in anger, who constantly doubts himself, or who treats life like chaos, he may spark temporary excitement, but he won't hold her. Over time, her attraction fades because she can't fully trust him. Her body literally resists surrender because she doesn't feel secure. And here's the irony. Many men chase women by trying to impress them with big gestures, money, or attention, but neglect the very thing that matters most: stability. You don't need to impress her with fireworks if you can offer her calm skies. The key is to live with order. Have a sense of discipline in your life. Manage your emotions. Take care of your responsibilities. When you do that, you send a silent but powerful message. I am stable. You're safe here. And that message alone is more attractive than any fancy line or expensive date. So ask yourself honestly, when she looks at you, does she see a man who's grounded or a man who's easily shaken? If you know stability is the real foundation of attraction, write this in the comments. I am steady. And here's the truth. Stability builds trust, but trust alone isn't enough. To keep her attention, you need something more. The ability to awaken her emotions in ways she can't ignore. And that's exactly what we'll dive into next. Number 7. Age shifts her deepest motives. Here's a truth men rarely stop to consider. What drives a woman's intimacy at 25 is not the same as what drives her at 45 or 55. Attraction isn't static, it evolves with age, experience, and the stage of life she's in. If you ignore that, you'll misread her signals. But if you understand it, you'll see clearly what truly pulls her toward a man. Take Tom, 59, a successful contractor from Ohio. After his divorce, he started dating again and met Laura, 52, a nurse. At first, Tom tried the same approach he used in his 30s, lavish dates, physical compliments, and playful energy. It worked on younger women years ago, but with Laura, it fell flat. She didn't seem impressed by the flash. What drew her in was something deeper: his stability,